Well, hello and good morning, my friends. This is going to be rather an impromptu talk. I'm not going to go into any specific subject. I just want to tell you a bit about what's happening now with the Invisible College, because we are actually at the beginning of some important changes, and I think it's very exciting. And I want to share with you some of what I have in mind for where we're going to go in the future. Now, those of you who've been following this channel for some time with the Invisible College know I've been doing a lot of lectures on the last book of the Bible, the Apocalypse of St. John, also known as the Book of Revelation. But I don't want you to think that I'm some kind of Bible fanatic. I'm not a pastor. I don't have a parish. I don't go to churches to talk with the faithful and discuss the Bible with them and so on. I look at the Bible as a research tool. I am a very passionate Christian, there's no doubt about that. And I've had some extraordinary experiences in my life, including being taken out of my body and going up to what you might call the portals of heaven. I don't want to sort of go further than that. Heaven is a very, very big place, as you can imagine. So what I've seen is probably only a very small portion. But, I have been there, and I know it's real. I know it's where our destiny lies. I know it's what the whole Christian message is all about, as a rescue mission for this planet and for our race, our human race. Not just the white race, but all of us here on earth, not just the Jews, not just the Christians, everyone has the possibility for graduating, and it can only happen at certain times, and we're at one of those times. And I've written books on this subject, particularly one here I wrote, which was published in the year 2000, called Signs in the Sky, and I presented very clear evidence that the signs were already in the sky, mainly to do with the movement of the constellation of Orion, and I shall go into that in more detail in other lectures. And you will find some lectures where I've already talked about this quite a bit. So I want you to understand that I'm actually a very broad-based researcher. I'm interested in everything. I've spent a lot of time in recent years studying something called the electric universe paradigm, which is a new kind of astrophysics, which fits so much better with what we're taught in the Bible and in other esoteric traditions about how creation comes about how energy passes down through different steps to reach the earth and to invigorate life here, how there is a God. We use the word God, a creator, a powerful mind, if you prefer to think of it that way, that is able to create through thought the forms which then will manifest to become planets, to become animals, rocks, everything that exists. And we are created beings made in the image of that powerful mind. This is the teaching that was in the Bible and the teachings of Jesus, but it's also in earlier teachings to do with the Hermetica and ancient Egypt. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, is I'm doing a new series on the mysteries of Egypt. And we're going to go into great depth and detail, although I'm going to do these in much shorter lectures than I have been, because I understand that some people find hour-long, hour-plus lectures too much. I understand that. You've only got a limited amount of time and a limited amount of patience to watch a particular video on YouTube, and after that maybe you get fed up with it. So I'm going to try to do things in shorter lectures, but covering specific themes, so they'll be more focused and shorter. That's my aim. Whether I end up waffling on for hours is another question, but I'll try not to. So there's going to be lectures on ancient Egypt and all sorts of aspects of that. And one of the things I want you to understand, and I put in an earlier lecture I did, I think last week, that when we look at the Bible, we see the Old Testament and the New Testament. Well, that's fine. But the Old Testament, the real Old Testament, as I would call it, really begins with Abraham. Before that, it's all kind of mythological and mysterious. We have Towers of Babel, we have Noah's flood, we have Adam and Eve in the garden. We've got all this stuff that goes on in the first 11 chapters, or up to halfway through the 11th chapter in the book of Genesis. And then we get into the nitty-gritty Abraham, and then we get his sons, and we get his grandsons, and we get all the whole Exodus thing, and we get the judges and the kings, and we get the prophets. And then we come to the end of the Old Testament, they're all expecting a Messiah, and then we get the arrival of Jesus Christ, his life, his teachings, how he's not accepted by the Jews of his time, and the Romans crucify him, but then he rises from the dead and ascends to heaven. And you might think, well, that's nonsense, but that's actually what his teaching is all about, is how the hell do you manage to arise, get off this planet, get up to higher levels of existence. So that's kind of the second part. And the third part I would call the book of Revelation, which is what's going to happen in the future. Or at least it was the future. I think it's actually what's happening in the present for us in our generation. But as far as the people who've studied for a couple of thousand years, that was all in the future. But there is this period at the beginning of Genesis which I call the prequel. And the prequel is like, and I said this in another lecture, when you've watched that fantastic series of Star Wars, the original 3 films that they made. You had Star Wars itself, and it began with a sort of this rolling screen telling you what has happened up till now, sort of filling you in on the plot. And then you come out of that and straight into ships firing at each other and Princess Leia and all of that, and then you get into Star Wars. Then you have the second episode, which was the Empire Strikes Back. And then you have the third episode, Return of the Jedi. And what I was saying was that rolling screen, that is the prequel, and that's like the beginning of the book of Genesis. So when we're looking at Egypt, we are looking at what is really the prequel to the Bible. And you'll understand that better when you've seen what I've got to tell you about. But Egypt is not to be dismissed. It's the original Holy Land as far as the Western world is concerned. Even before the Holy Land became the Holy Land, there was another Holy Land, which was Egypt. And that's how the Egyptians looked upon their land at that time. So we're going to examine and try and find out things that they knew and understood to give us a better perspective on our time. Because if you don't know the prequel, then it's difficult to know the sequel and the later sequels to that. So that's going to be one part of what we're going to do. We're going to do something on Egypt. And then I'm going to do other lectures on ancient Britain. In many ways, actually, Britain is also a holy land. You might not think it. You might not think that the British are very holy, and no, we aren't. But it is a sort of holy land, and strange things have happened here too. And there's some very interesting, esoteric things to be said about Britain and things which are here, and its connections with the Bible. So we'll be going into that in some detail. And I want to go into things like sacred geometry, which is another fascinating subject. Because we all know geometry, you did it in school. Sacred geometry, why is it sacred? Well, we've got to look into what makes the thing sacred or not. And then I want to say a little bit more about the college itself. I want to see this develop more into not just me talking at a camera and you watching lectures on YouTube. I think that's great, and it's fantastic that technology enables us to do that now. But I want things to become much more personalized. I want us to be able to communicate one with another. I want to be able to answer your questions, for example, assuming I can. I don't know everything, but where I can, to answer your questions, or at least discuss the question with you. And I want in due course to do conferences, and I'd like very much to do live conferences where we hire a hall and people actually come along, sit in chairs, and we interact one with another. We begin to get to know each other better. I'd like to do that very much. Won't appeal to everyone, I understand that, but I think for those who do wish to go down that route, there's a lot to be said for it. And I want maybe at some stage to do more tour groups going to other places. I did a famous tour to Egypt and Israel in the year 2000 called Opening the Stargate. And I'd like to do other tours like that, maybe going to Egypt again, maybe going to other places to examine what's left of the past and to look at it, or even things which are happening now, which we think are harbingers of what's to come. So could be in Britain, could be in Egypt, Israel, Greece, Rome. There's a lot to see in this world, a great deal, and there's things I would like to do to discuss with you at the locations that we've talked about. So those are things for the future. But then there's the whole question of why should you listen to me at all? I mean, I'm just one man sitting here, as I say, talking to a camera. Well, I'd like to put it to you this way, that if you're going mountaineering, then it's wise to have someone who's been mountaineering before, if you haven't done it, to show you the way, to show you the ropes. I like watching Bear Grylls. I don't know if you've ever seen Bear Grylls, and he takes these celebrities out. They call it Running with Bear Grylls. And he throws them in at the deep end, he has them climbing up steep crevasses. They've never climbed anything before. Nothing more than the flight of steps up to their bedroom. They've never climbed anything like that before. Or abseiling down again. Or having to make a little campfire and cook up some horrible bug or something as their supper. He has them doing those things. But they are able to do it, and they have confidence because they know that he knows what he's talking about. He's been there himself. He's done it before. He's trained. Well, I put it to you that I'm trained for this work. I've spent 50 years at it, and I've been involved in a lot of stuff, things that you don't even know about. And I do know what I'm talking about. And I can take you up that mountain. I can show you the way. And where the mountain I want to take you along, eventually, I want it to lead to your initiation. That's my aim. And that's not something that I would ever do for you. I don't sort of lay hands on you and say, I initiate you in the name of this, that, and that. It's not like that. Real initiation is given to you by God, not by anyone else. Not by a bishop, not by the Pope, not by the Archbishop of Canterbury, not by a mullah, not by an Ayatollah. Nobody on this earth can initiate you, except for Jesus Christ and God. And I hope to bring you to that point where you might be ready, some of you anyway, to receive a direct initiation. Those of you who don't get to that point, you can still connect. You can connect through Jesus Christ, and you can find your way off this planet on his coattails, as it were. That's what's been offered to us with the Holy Grail. And if you will follow where he was actually leading, which is not the same direction as most of these high street churches would take you, then there's great things in store for you, including heaven itself. So anyway, I think I've said enough. I'm excited. I'm very excited. And I would like more of you to come on the journey with me. And the first step to doing that is to link in, get onto our mailing list. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. All you have to do is send an email to admin.invisiblecollege@protonmail.com. Right? Do that. admin.invisiblecollege@protonmail.com. And I'll put the address under here. I will then respond and I will put you on the mailing list, and you'll be getting newsletters in due course. Even better, and you can help the work now, and I thank very, very much the patrons who've already signed up and are paying so much per month to support this work. if you can find it in your heart and in your wallet to be able to help this work to progress, I'll be extremely grateful, because I can't carry the burden all myself. I do as much as I can, but it does need help from you as well, that you should not only be receiving, but you should also be giving. So if you can do that, go on patreon.com and look up Adrian G. Gilbert. That's my name, Adrian G. Gilbert. And you will find my Patreon page, and there's different levels you can join at. And it doesn't need to cost you very much. It's only the basic patronage, is that the right term? It's £5 a month. It's not a lot. Price of a pint of beer a month if you go to a pub. Or, there are other levels too. But as many of you as can join and become patrons, the better. We need you. We need your support and your help to progress this thing. And for my part, I'm going to do as much as I can to make this happen. And I'm very excited to be able to tell you that we now have a super fast broadband link to the house. So I'm able to now record these programs and get them out to you faster. It used to take 18 hours to upload a 1 hour program. I can now do that in less than 1 hour. So that's great news too. So thank you very much for your time, and look forward to speaking to you again. Goodbye.